Hi, welcome to your reading. I want to talk about a few things today with you. I kind of let my intuition tell me what to share with a person. So each time I do one of these readings, the information that I share can be different. So for you, because you had shared that your Saturn return was very instrumental in helping you to activate your North Node. I want to kind of to focus on that, on your evolutionary axis, on Pluto and the nodes. So I took some notes here, and I'll just go ahead and look at those, and then we'll cover those as I share with you what my thoughts were. Okay, so with the South Node in Virgo, you had mentioned that your Saturn return helped you to go from being an atheist to somebody that I guess was open to the possibility of there being more out there, like a personal God, not a personal God, but a God, a different reality versus only the material. And then you have that South Node in the first house, which is the energy of Aries. So in evolutionary astrology, we don't look at houses as traditional astrology does. So in EA, there are no houses, but only energies. So because Aries naturally sits in the first house, we're looking at a combination of Virgo and Aries energies for your South Node. And when I first learned about this, it really helped me to see how, because I have first house South Node as well. And when I started looking at it in terms of Aries qualities versus first house things, it made a lot of sense to me. So, with Aries, you can be a loner. You have no real sense of the needs of other people because the opposite sign of Aries is Libra, which is all about, balancing and considering other people's needs with your own. But with Aries, there's no real sense of that. Aries is the sign of unconscious narcissism. So, and narcissism, not in the way that people usually sling around this term like it's a bad thing. All narcissism is utilized by the soul for specific reasons and at certain times in their life. So it always has a function. And with Aries, it's unconscious, so you don't really realize that other people have needs and wants. And you like to do things by yourself, and you're not really dependent on other people. And then with the Virgo part, this would, give somebody leanings towards an atheist mentality, because Virgo is the sign between Leo and Libra. It's the sixth sign in the zodiac. And so when I look at the archetypes psychologically or archetypally, I look at them, one way I look at them is from the view of life stages. So with Leo, we have the life stage of the teenager. Everything's revolves around them. They're really sensitive to peer pressure, what people think about them. And then once a person leaves the world of high school, they go out into a brand new world, which is the world of the adult. And this is the life stage that Virgo represents. That's why Virgo is so concerned about, their work, how they can best serve other people in this new world that they find themselves in, the workplace. So with Virgo, because they've been thrust out into this new adult world, it's kind of like almost like a second birth. When you're a baby, you come out of the womb and you come into this new world, and there's a lot of vulnerability, a lot of anxiety, which Virgo is very prone to. You're not really sure of yourself in your new environment. So this can cause a person to feel like there's how should I put it? Like there's no real purpose to life, because they feel that that they're in this new environment. They've been thrust there. They're all alone. Aries, especially in your case with that South Node, first house Aries. So it's a excuse me. It's a very it can be a very lonely and depressing place to be. Because Virgo feels that disconnection from source. Because if you look at the natural zodiac, you have Virgo in the 6th, and then the house completely opposite of that and sign is Pisces, 12th house, which is connection with source, connection with all that is. So Virgo, like I said, they feel that sense that there's really no meaning to life, because they're looking at, they're using the mind, which is another Virgo thing, that 3D analyzation, to think about things only in the terms of the physical and not the spiritual. And that's what causes them to feel that sense of, lack of point to life. So let's see. Yeah, no sense of purpose in life other than work or service, which Virgo is really good at. So, this describes your past up until recently. And then it sounds like your Saturn return was what activated your North Node, which is in Pisces in the 7th house. And this is anytime that the North Node is activated, it's a huge leap into the unknown, the unfamiliar, the complete opposite of what we once were, because that is how we're asked to grow and evolve, is through the polar energies. So, Virgo is the complete opposite energy of Pisces. And it's that way for everybody. Like I have South Node in Capricorn, and the opposite energy is Cancer, and that's my North Node. So it's always a really hard thing to have these experiences that activate our North Nodes, and different people do this in different ways. Like some will, for some, this process will be easier because there hasn't been this resistance and this clinging on to the past so tightly, to what they've known and what was familiar to them. But it sounds like in your case, you probably went through a cataclysmic, evolution, which happens when the soul is too fearful or feels like it's not ready to move into letting go of the old energies in order to embrace the new energies. Now, we know that Pisces is belief in the spiritual, or I don't want to say belief, because that's a more mental function, or maybe a Sagittarius function, but just they're more connected to spirit. They're more connected to who they are inside and to the other realms versus just to what they can see with their eyes in this reality. Now, the seventh house is the Libra part of your North Node. So when you're more in tune with Source, which is the Pisces North Node part, then you're more in tune, like I said, with yourself and therefore other people, which is the Libra part. Now, that's the nodes. That's your conscious growth in this lifetime. And then we want to look at Pluto, which is the unconscious growth. Sorry, I had something in my eye. So Pluto is basically it's the bottom line. It's what causes all the placements in the chart as they are. So the soul has this unconscious desire, and it says, okay, and how can I best fulfill this desire through my emotions, the moon, which your natal moon describes your current egoic emotional, state or energies, energetic patterns. And then the south node of the moon talks about how in the past you identified at that, at that moon level. And then there's that natural progression from the past energies, which you brought forward into this life, and then how those interact with your present day moon, and then how you will grow and evolve through your north node moon. And, the sun, how am I creatively actualizing the lessons that, or the, what's a good word? The evolution of my internal self. How am I going to creatively actualize and share that with others, the sun? And then it goes on and on with Mars and Venus, and every planet in your chart that is placed in a specific sign and house was put there by you, to best fulfill this Plutonian subconscious desire. So when I looked at your Pluto, it was in the third house, and this is the energy of Gemini. And I already sent you the document that Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of evolutionary astrology, had wrote on Pluto third house. But basically the Pluto third house soul has this subconscious desire to know. They're hungry for knowledge. And it's a hunger, but it's also a compulsion, because Pluto is compulsion. So maybe up until this point, you realized that you had this hunger, but you didn't know why. Why you had this compulsion to gather all this information and to know all these things. You were searching for something, but you either didn't know what, or maybe you thought you knew what it was, but it turned out that it's something else. So just as the south node has a north node, or energies that the soul will be asked to integrate and grow and evolve through, so does Pluto have a north node, and that's called the Pluto polarity point. And just like with the north node, it's the energy that is completely opposite of your Pluto placement. So your Pluto's in the third house, Gemini. So that means your Pluto polarity point is in the ninth house, Sagittarius. And this is why I sent you the question about intuition, because this is what your soul has subconsciously been searching for, is intuition. It has this hunger and this compulsion to keep searching and knowing and finding, believing that in time all of this knowledge is going to come to some kind of, I don't know, like a final product, or each people can experience or think that they're searching for a different thing. But when we have Gemini, the search is always for intuition, because this is, again, the opposing energies that are asked to be integrated, or energy in this case. Now, just as, the South Node is connected to Pluto and fulfills the Plutonian function, the third house Gemini kept searching, and maybe in your instance, maybe it was searching for, the meaning of life, the source of life, with a Virgo South Node, the atheist thing. Because atheism is just the flip side of spirituality. The person is looking for the same thing, they're just going about it in two different ways. That's one thing that always makes me laugh, is when people who have strikingly different belief systems, they're like, I'm nothing like that person, I'm an atheist, or I'm nothing like an atheist, I'm a Christian. And they're basically fundamentally the same. They're both searching for the purpose of life. If, they're wanting to know the questions, the big questions, why am I here? What happens to us after we die? Those type of things. So this is why you have the Virgo South Node, is to fulfill the Plutonian desire for that eventual finding of intuition. And I'm gonna have to leave this video for a second, and I will be right back. I'm so sorry. Okay, I had to turn off a timer that I hadn't reset. So then we look at the North Node in Pisces, and we say, okay, how does the Pluto polarity point become fulfilled through Pisces? So if the way you're asked to subconsciously grow and evolve is by integrating the energies of Sagittarius, which is developing the intuition, then that shows that you're going to be doing that through connection with Source or spiritual things. So I put some notes here. It says opening the mind, because you do have that, you're always gonna have that Geminian underlying, subconscious desire. So it's always gonna be a mental thing, at least, for as long as you're working with this energy. But it's going to become less and less mental over your lifetimes, if you believe in that. So opening the mind to other dimensions of life, which is, spiritual versus only rational. And this will allow you to find what you've been searching for, which is intuition. The integration of your Pluto polarity point will allow you to attain a personal belief system that you feel is true at the intuitive level, which will take away any doubts and this constant searching of old Geminian energies. So I can't remember all the placements in your charts, but I don't know if you have any heavy emphasis in Sagittarius that that is already energies that you've already been working with, but I have Sun, so I'm really familiar with Sagittarius, and I have a whole stellium of planets in Sagittarius, so I know this energy really well. And it's the feeling like you know the truth, and no one can tell you differently, and this can get you into trouble if you're too hardcore in that, which has happened to me before. Guilty is charged. But yeah, so that's the feeling that you're gonna be, the feeling that you've been wanting and that you've been searching for, and that you will have at some point, probably in this lifetime. That assuredness that what I believe is true, and I found it, and I don't have to keep looking, because you've stopped searching using the mind, and you've started using other means to find the truth. And that's this whole process. This explains your whole journey. From Gemini, utilizing Virgo, and then from going from all that past to a future where you're utilizing Pisces to get at Sagittarius. And I know that you had asked about your karma. Now, I can't, in EA, we don't really look at specific karma. If we hear a client's life story, we might be able to speak on what their karma could be. But one thing that EA helps us with is lessening our karma, because once we see our path and we know that the experiences that we've had, whether they're painful or not, or difficult or not, were for the purpose of, shedding old energies and then embracing the new energies. And a lot of people don't have the opportunity to make that process conscious. They're asked to change. Maybe a loved one dies, or they become homeless, or whatever their specific lesson in karma is, but they don't understand why those things had to happen to them. And eventually over time they will be changed because of them. They will be changed into their North Node energies and the energies of their Pluto polarity point. But the whole process is still kind of foggy. They just know that they've changed, but they don't understand why and how. And when we do have access to this information, which we can get through something like an evolutionary astrology chart reading, then we can tell when we're trying to slide back into our old energies, or what our trajectory is. Just as an example, I have that Capricorn South Node, like I mentioned. So being able to work has always been really huge for me, because I mainly identified with my social status and what I was doing in the past, and not really who I was inside, which is that Cancer North Node. So even lately, I've been struggling with, should I return to work full time to a job that I really love, or should I, stay home with my kids and, pay more attention to my family and my home, which is my North Node path. And I'm feeling that more strongly all the time, because I'm integrating the energies, over time. So for me to be able to say, okay, well, I know what my North Node energies are. Now I know why I'm feeling the way I do, can help me make a choice, a conscious choice, and know what my path is, instead of just using my mind and saying, well, I should be making money and saving for the future and all these type of things, which is my old Capricorn way. So I wanted to share that with you because I feel like if you can really, maybe listen to this video multiple times, study about the energies of your North Node, the Pisces and the Libra and the Sagittarius, so that you get a really good sense of what those energies are about. And meditate on your life purpose and your life path and how you're being asked to grow and evolve. That can really help you to, get out of your head a lot and can help you make really sound choices in life. Yeah, so along those lines, let me see how long this video is getting. I think I'm gonna stop this video here and make this part 1, and then I'm gonna do a part 2 because I wanted to share some other things with you that I have really found helpful myself, as far as being self-aware and being able to grow and evolve. Okay, see you in part 2.